you this holiday season. My name is Carla Renata, and I'm going to be here moderating the discussion, with the star of the fire inside. Give it up for Ryan
Hello, thank you guys so much for coming and being here.
Now, I was telling Ryan outside, how many of y'all saw Star on Fox with Queen Latifah? I know, child, I did too. And I was telling Ryan that I was a huge fan of that show and her on that show outside. But what I want to know is, we know you can sing, we know you can dance, we definitely know you can act, but child, the boxing?
The boxing.
The boxing. So talk to me about training for that and what it took for you to get into the mind of Clarissa.
Yeah, so I had about 3 months to train back in 2020 when we first started this whole thing. And of course the pandemic came and shut us all down, and then I had to do about 3-4 months more of training in 2022 when we started back up that second time. And my boxing trainer was just incredible. He is someone who, I say it all the time, he treated me like a fighter and not like an actor. And I think that that made a huge difference for the mindset that I needed to be in, to just embody, an athlete, and just the ups and downs and the exhaustion and the pushing and the, he didn't hold back on me. So it was definitely a shock to my body. It was something that was so new for me, and it was like a challenge day after day. I literally didn't even know how to do a push-up, y'all. Like I think the most push-ups that I could do, I think was 2 max. Like it was bad. Like I was so frail. Like it was so bad. So yeah, so it was really cool to see the transformation in myself. And then with Claressa in particular, she is someone who has a very specific style of fighting. And so it was really important for me to get the little nuances and the details of just how she would move in general. But with the fighting in particular, I knew she would kill me if I didn't get it right, okay? she would let me know very quickly. So I had studied so much of the footage that was out there of her, as well as the documentary of her life, well, not her whole life, but her life during the Olympics, called T-Rex, which is incredible. And it was something that I held on to me during the entire duration of filming, because it was just so helpful just to have kind of a front row seat of so many things pertaining to her life. So the boxing in particular, I just studied it down, and it was so many moving parts to it, but yeah.
What was the one day you had while training with the boxing where you were like, okay, I think I can do this? Because I can imagine going into it, you were like, I don't know.
I was definitely scared, and I think I went into it knowing it would be difficult, but I was just like, we're here now, just go for it. But I don't know if there was a moment where I felt that way. Maybe on set, finally, when we were actually in the thick of it and doing the actual scenes, I felt, I don't know. It's hard to even put it into words. It's just something that comes over you when you have the lights and the camera and the background actors, and the energy is all there. That made it feel very real. So maybe when I did one of the first fights that we ever filmed.
And I wanted to ask you this. You've never played a real person before,
No.
right?
No.
So how daunting was that for you to be able to jump into the mind and mindset and the body of someone who's still living? Because it's one thing when the person is no longer here,
Yeah.
but when they're still here and they got something to say about it, it's a little different.
Especially, as you can see, she wouldn't hold her tongue. So it was definitely a lot of pressure initially, but I think there's pros and cons to it a little bit, being able to pull so much from the person because they're still here. Also with the age of social media, I think it's definitely helpful. But I guess the other bad part about it is just them hating it, you know, it being the worst thing that can happen. But when she first saw the film, she cried. She loved the boxing, and it was just, it made me cry because I thought of her every single day. And, you know, you want a lot of people to appreciate it, but the person that it's about, that's just extra special. So I cared about what she thought the entire time. And when I got that seal of approval from her, it was everything.
You know, that's what makes you an exceptional artist. Because I've only seen you on Star. But meeting you today and just feeling your spirit, you feel like the type of artist and the type of human being that puts a lot of care into what she does. So I just want to give that to you because you deserve that.
Thank you so much.
So let's rip it back a little bit and talk about what the audition process was for a film like this. Can you just share that with us real fast?
Yeah, it wasn't anything extravagant. I remember I remember it was like any other one where you know, get the email in, and I knew it would be competitive just because the story is so special and so rare, and also the people behind it are obviously incredible. With Rachel and Barry, they've been people I've been wanting to work with, so I just didn't think it would go for me. I went into it kind of with this mindset of like, it probably won't go my way, but let's just see what happens. And I think that honestly helped in the long run because I'm someone who is a little bit of a perfectionist, so I overthink.
No, really?
I overthink so much, and that, you know, is also the same with auditions. So I think, oh, is it there? Okay. I think that when I went into it, because I didn't think there was much of a chance, it let me just kind of fall into it more and not really overthink anything. So I think it helped, but it was just a tape at first. It was a tape, and then I think 2 callbacks in total, maybe, if I remember correctly, and then a meeting with Rachel. So,
And this was over what period of time?
this was over maybe, I want to say like 2 or 3 months.
Oh, wow.
I want to say, yeah.
I would have been biting my nails off.
Oh, and then, yes, and then I had to send in a tape of me boxing, which was horrible, and I really hope it never sees the light of day. It was
What did you
not,
do? Did you look at some Tybo tapes or
man,
something?
I went to like a random boxing gym, and I just told the guy, I was like, look, I'm auditioning for something. Can you just show me a little bit? I just need a few seconds on tape here. And he did it for me. But yeah, it was horrible. I never want to see it again.
That is hilarious.
Ever.
You said you never want to see it again, ever? I can imagine why. No, I'm just kidding. Balancing Claressa's tough exterior with her vulnerable moments must have been a very complex task for you. What were some of the most challenging aspects of this duality for you, and how did you navigate those contrasting sides to portray her character authentically?
Yeah. Ooh. It was definitely some of my favorite parts personally, just because I think, you know, knowing who Claressa is online and to everyone else that would know her, she has this very tough exterior. She's super confident all the time and has this, you know, fighter mentality, and, you know, you can't tell her nothing, really. So being able to show the other layers of her was something that I thought was just so special, because she is a very sweet and kind person, and she cares for her family, and, you know, she is sometimes, especially during that time, being 16, 17, she didn't have that complete, full mentality yet where she was confident in every single thing that she did. You know, it took time to get to that point, and I think playing those parts of seeing it grow and seeing how her coach Jason, you know, really spoke life into her and helped her get there, was just really special. And I think being able to have Barry's script was just a gift, because he has such a way to make sure the work feels very grounded. So I think going into it, you just kind of have to show up, you know, and obviously with, you know, certain people that you're acting with and the other actors around you, all of that helps too. And being able to act alongside Brian was such a like complete just honor, you know, because he's such a incredible performer and such a raw performer, and just being able to be in his orbit was just something that I did not take for granted, and he makes everyone around him better. And so, you know, him alongside with our other cast members were just so grounded in the work, and because it felt so lived in, I think it made for, you know, it all to just be better and feel better, and we could play, and they gave me such a safe space where I felt like I could fail. I felt like I could, you know, mess up and it be okay, and being able to push myself into something that was so different for me, and in a way I never have before, was, I think, really special, especially with a script like this where you do have to be as real and authentic as possible because you're playing real people and real characters. So, but I also think, again, reverting back to the documentary, it's just such a great thing to have because I could focus so much on the details of who she was, and I did that. And so I think having all of those things, you know, I guess in my hands and being able to execute it was based off of having that, and then the people around me, and an incredible director who really gave me the space to do that. So I think there are so many things and ways to get to that point, but it involves so many people, you know, to be able to feel that safe in that way.
I love Rachel's directing in this,
Yeah.
you know, because she comes from a cinematography background, so this
Yes.
is like her feature film directorial debut, so to speak, and it was
Wow.
wonderful to watch her do this, especially with you. Let's revert back a little bit to Brian. There's that scene, the scene that I love, the scene where y'all are in Brian's house and you guys have that big blow up fight, right? You said you felt safe with Brian. How did you guys work out your chemistry for that? Because that's the kind of scene that I can imagine would make you just break down into tears at any given moment. And you never did break down into tears because Claressa would never do that.
Yeah.
She's a tough cookie.
Yeah.
But how did you and Brian work together to pull that scene off? Because it was very powerful.
Thank you. That scene in particular, you would think that we like had a lot of prep with it, but we did not. I remember going into it, and it was something that we never over rehearsed. We never had a conversation like, you're gonna do this and I'm gonna come in here like this. We blocked it, I think, probably one time for the cameras, and everything else was just, you know, on. You press play and we would just go. And, you know, we would mess up here and there, you know, have to start over, but for the most part, we literally were just feeding off of each other. We knew these characters very well at that point too, so it was easy, you know, not easy in the way it was easy to act it out, like, no, not like that, but it was easy because we had such an understanding. And I don't think Brian is someone who, how do I say it? I guess he's not someone who will overstep, and he totally could. Like, I would be fine with taking his lead, you know, but we gave each other that I guess space to be able to, you know, feel like it's not about who's blowing up the most or who's doing the most or who's the loudest and who's. It's not about that. It was literally us just being authentic to what we felt was necessary in those moments, and whatever lines and whatever parts there would be. And I think that's really important. You know, I've been in positions and worked with people who it feels like it's a little bit of a competition, which sometimes works. But I personally, I personally really like when, you know, it's this kind of equal and leveled playing field where you feel like we're in this together and we're in this for one goal. And it felt like that with him. And I think from the start with us, nothing ever felt forced. When I met him, it was an instant click that we had, and he just feels like a brother to me now, and it's just really special. But yeah, so with that particular scene, it really wasn't too thought out, you know, so we just kind of let it roll.
I asked because you guys seem to have a very organic chemistry on screen. You know, the camera don't lie.
Yeah.
The camera does not lie. It's either real or it's not. And
Yeah.
and I don't know about anybody else, but for me, I believed that he was Jason and that you were Claressa.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Talk to me a little bit, you mentioned Rachel.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about working with Rachel and what that means for you now on the other side of this film.
Yeah.
Ooh. Since it was her directorial debut, it felt like we were in the same seat a little bit as far as just coming into something new, coming into something that we haven't necessarily done before in this way. And it felt like that. She became like more of like a partner, and it wasn't ever a point in time where she made me feel inferior to her. And I think that that also shows up in the work, you know, and that's how I work best, is when it does feel like more of a partnership, and not some dictatorship where it feels like, oh, you need to do this or else, or, you know, or some type of order. So we both were going into it, I think just knowing that we didn't know everything and just learning along the way. And she's just incredible and very vulnerable with even how she is and how she directs. It's in a very human way, and I just really appreciate it. And I don't think I've ever worked with someone like that in particular. And we've been doing this, it feels like our baby now at this point. It's like 5 years in the making. So we went through everything together. You know, it got shut down. It was just me and her, like, what is about to happen right now? You know, and she kept me in the loop no matter what. So yeah, she was just incredible, and I'm just really, really happy for her and happy to see what she does next, because I think obviously she has such a great eye, and I think with this film people will see that she has even more to bring to the table. So it's just so cool to be able to see her start in a way and how we're finishing. We literally saw each other grow, so it was really cool.
There's a line that Brian has as Jason when he's trying to encourage Claressa not to give up.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, you can lose a fight, but you can't lose your heart.
Yes.
What does that mean for you right now on the other side of this project? Having portrayed this very determined, very, you know, heartfelt young woman under those circumstances.
Yeah.
Being in a pandemic, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, oh man, this film has so many parallels to life. And with this journey in particular, I think we did have to keep reminding ourselves of what the story was about to keep going ourselves. Not only was it a pandemic, it was also a writer's strike, and it was just so many things that shut us down. And you think things will go a certain way, and in your head how they should is what it is, but it's just not like that all the time. And I think throughout this entire journey, I've just been reminded of how things really happen exactly how they're supposed to. And I think with even Claressa, I hear her talk a lot about her journey, and you know, you would think she'd still be angry, and you would think she, you know, would look at this time in her life as sad and as like she's some victim. But she doesn't look at it like that at all, and she knows that this was exactly how it was supposed to pan out for her. She doesn't think that she would have even been able to handle, you know, endorsements and millions of dollars that, you know, they give you at 17 years old. She doesn't think that she would have been able to handle that, and she probably wouldn't have, who knows. But I think it's literally the same for this film, and I just try to remind myself of it. I think even with this journey now, even after, and having to continue, you know, to go in these spaces and meet these people and go in the rooms, it can feel very nice and very great. But I think it's also about keeping your head leveled, and keeping your feet on the ground, you know. But everything that's happened is literally how it was supposed to. So I don't regret it, and I grew so much from this experience, mentally, physically, and just as a person and as a performer. So I don't think this film would have been the same film if we did it back in 2020. I think having it in 2022 was so necessary for me for so many different reasons, and I think other people feel the same who were a part of it as well.
Look at you being all prolific. In what ways, Ryan, do you think Clarissa's story as told in The Fire Inside resonates beyond the world of boxing?
I mean, for reasons that I kind of just said, starting from kind of nothing and building it into something and having this, like, just a complete belief in yourself that you can achieve anything that you want to. She is someone who exudes that so well and so much in her current life. Like, I wish people could meet her because she speaks life into herself. And I think we need to do that more often. And I think a lot of times we're told that certain things are egotistical or, you're cocky or this and that. No, you just need to believe in yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that message can, resonate with so many people. And I think the way that she moves through life and the way that she looks in the mirror and sees herself is how we all should see ourselves. It's just so powerful, and she's taught me so much just by having so many conversations with her, meeting her, and I think that that's just one of the things that I think a lot of people could resonate with this film in particular. So.
Okay, so you've been a singer, you've been a dancer, you've been a semi-boxer. What's next for you?
Oh, I really don't know. I definitely am trying to stay present with this moment, and I'm so thankful for even having a movie come out in the theaters. It's something that was a dream of mine since I was a kid. So I'm just, basking in this, taking it in, but also understanding that whatever is next for me is something that I will make sure that I choose carefully, but also I'm very open to. I'm someone who doesn't really like to be put in a box. So, even with people not ever seeing this side of me before, that makes me happy. I really enjoy it, and it's so fun for me. And I never want people to think that, I can only do this thing or this thing. I want to continue to explore, continue to be curious, because I think that that's what this is really all about, for the most part. And so we'll see. But right now, I really don't know, and I'm just, I guess gonna find out soon.
Oh, that sounds good. I just want to flip back to one other thing. So while you were talking, I was thinking, ooh, I wonder what you had to eat. What did you have to eat while you were training, and how different was it than what you normally eat?
Oh man, it was definitely not fun. You know what? It wasn't even about, I guess, having to completely change it, because I had to actually gain weight, so I actually had to eat a lot more. But it was about eating things that were bland and had no taste. So yeah, so like I love oatmeal on a regular basis, right? Like, so I'll like dump some brown sugar and so many things. And, yeah, butter. But this time I had to literally do it bland, and I don't know if anyone out there likes bland oatmeal with nothing in it, but it's not fun and it's very thick. But yeah, it was certain things like that, like protein pancakes and protein, everything infused with protein. It was just like, it was definitely, I think it could have been worse if I had to lose weight, maybe. I don't know, maybe. But because I had to like really stuff myself, I guess it made it a little bit more fun, because I could just eat whatever I wanted to, as long as it lined up with those things in particular. So it was all about the protein. But would I do it again? Only if I had to.
What was the first thing you ate when it was over? When they wrapped cut for that last time, did you have some lobster with butter? Like, did you have some oatmeal with oodles and oodles of milk and sugar and raisins and stuff in it?
I honestly, I wish I could tell you. I really don't remember. I'm pretty sure whatever it was, it had a lot of salt and sugar. For sure, 100%. So yeah, it was something like that.
Now, do you have siblings?
I do.
So how did your relationship with your siblings color or inspire your relationship with Clarissa's siblings on screen?
I think as someone who is I guess, an older sister, I could relate to almost feeling like this sort of motherly role in a way. Definitely not to the extent that Clarissa had to. She had to really show up, you know, in a way because she had to fill that void. But I think having such a responsibility and care for a younger sibling is something that I just relate to so much, and caring about them kind of more than anything, and wanting to almost drop everything for them is something that I definitely can relate to, because that love is something that is so completely different. And I wanted to make sure I captured that, as well as the relationship with her mother, which is something I couldn't really understand from my own experience as much. So that was something that I really had to talk to her about to get just the full scope. But yeah, those relationships were really important, because they're so complex, you know. But yeah, having that, I guess, kind of motherly sister feeling is something that I can relate to a lot.
So, as an actor, and being one that seems to be fully in tune with her feelings and her emotions and everything, how would you say that the fire inside has stoked the fire inside you artistically and professionally?
That's a good question.
Thank you. I tried.
um, I think it's made me find, I guess, just a newfound trust in myself that I don't think I had before when I came into this, as well as a newfound confidence in myself that I did not have at all before I came into this. And I think that those two things was something that I personally really needed, because so much of this industry and how you maneuver through it and how you know, just go about it and carry yourself is based a lot off of the belief in yourself and the trust in yourself. Trusting that you can succeed at something, or trust that you can achieve something that maybe you didn't really think that you could before, or you were kind of okay with fading into the background, which is something that I was fine with doing for a lot of my life. And that's something that I think was very necessary going into something like this, where I had to play this character who's not only confident on a normal basis, but is also confident on an athlete's terms and then a boxer's terms. Like, there's so many layers to confidence that's not normal. So, like, she was a superhuman. So I think going into that, I had to really take the little seed of confidence that I did have and just maximize it, and transform my mindset in a lot of ways. And I think over time, over the course of the time, and seeing the work back as well, it made me be like, oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do something if I just work really, really hard, of course, but it's still sometimes you just don't believe that it can happen. And I think that I really needed this experience to see that, and just look back at just everything that I've been through and everything that I've worked hard for, because it's just really important to be able to say that to yourself and believe it. So I think that is, I guess, just a new fire that's lit under me, and I think that I'm going to be able to take it into whatever is next, and whatever next project that I go into, which is just really, really important to have.
Well, Ryan, let me just tell you something. There is no coincidence that your last name is Destiny, because you are destined for greatness, my dear.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you guys for joining us. And let's give it up for Miss Ryan Destiny. I'm following out. Happy holidays, y'all.
Hi. Thank you so much.
Thank you.